So yeah, let me introduce myself. My name is Kohei. Kurihara is coming from Japan and Tokyo. I'm very appreciated to having a session with you like that. What we can create through the blockchain technology. So my background is I've been working on marketing space. I'm becoming very excited into the blockchain is almost 2 or 3 years ago. Just time to start it. My company has been supporting the enterprises to use the blockchain, how we can make new things with technology empowerment. Thank you.
Hello, uh, my name is Yuri. I'm co-founder of Cindicator, and my background is technological entrepreneurship. And for years, the biggest part of my personal interests was the nature of mind. So, like, I do research a lot about the way how human mind works. Collective intelligence is the very important part of our technology, and we use hybrid intelligence in Cindicator, which is symbiosis of artificial intelligence and collective intelligence of thousands of financial analysts. And in our ecosystem, we create the platform and the technology and several products for different specialists in financial market. So it's I can say that we are democratizing the asset management industry.
Hi, I'm Naveed Ihsanullah, and I'll look at this cheat sheet over here. Apparently, I'm head of engineering of Algorand. Algorand's a layer 1 blockchain technology based on research from Silvio Macaulay, who's one of the founders of modern cryptography. He has solved the blockchain trilemma of simultaneously being secure, decentralized, and someone help me out with the third pillar there.
Mutability? No.
Well, it'll come to me, and then I'll interrupt rudely whoever's talking and go, hey. But in any case, the lights really do dazzle. We have a mainnet that's about to launch next month, and we're really excited to get that in the hands of everyone, so they can play with our layer 1 tech and see if that solves all the blockchain promise.
Hey everybody, I'm Marc Taverner with a company called Bitfury. We, as Bitfury, we've been involved in this space since 2011. We began mining. We now design and manufacture and distribute our own semiconductors. We build data centers, but we also build blockchain solutions for whole countries and whole industries. My personal interest is in trying to understand exactly what is going to drive the adoption of blockchain and how we can see the convergence of blockchain and other technologies improve the way in which we all live and improve the way in which we all work a little bit.
And what guys?
By the way, it was security. It did come to me eventually.
Yeah, security is pretty important.
So obvious, right?
Well, you say it's obvious, but I think we've just all found. Did everybody update their WhatsApp this morning after they had the WhatsApp hack? Yeah. So many of these secure systems aren't quite as secure as we would hope to think. Anyway, what got you excited about blockchain in the first place? Before we get into the future, what brought you in?
To me, we can create some new barriers by using decentralized operations. So that's why I'm very excited to come to this war. So I've been working several things like protocols, societies, the many things I've done before. But I found that a lot of things is coming from the human relations. So decentralized technology is created the new type of the barrier between the people-to-people relation. This is my great barriers and the visions. Well, it happens a lot of the things. Peer-to-peer relation will come out the many things in the future.
For me, there were two major reasons why I was excited and how I came here. Cindicator, our company started like 5 years ago, and we started without using blockchain. And we had the approach of researching of wisdom of the crowd, where thousands of people from very different countries are working within our ecosystem, and they get rewards, monetary rewards, and we had to pay them, and we paid them with PayPal and different uncomfortable ways to distribute money. And during our ecosystem grew up. We had people from 168 countries, and it was very hard to manage payments to all of these countries. So in our case, blockchain was a tool to work with decentralized community from all over the globe. And there is no other way to work with global distributed and huge community. And this is how we came to using blockchain 3 years ago. The idea was there. For me personally, I was excited about 4 years ago when I started to research financial markets and how the history of money is working and how the money is being issued and distributed to the economy. And I've seen that this is a huge inefficiency in a way how humans operate with each other. And then only after understanding the nature of current monetary system, I got the excitement of understanding of the beauty of this decentralized way of issuing, distributing, and exchanging the values.
Very cool.
So for me, there's two different thoughts there as well. The first is, I've always been a system engineer and tinkerer, so the protocol, the decentral system involved in blockchain from very beginning was just something I wanted to mess with. Random mining rig, it's in fact that same original machine still running just because I'm fond of it, even though it's I think 5 or 6 years old at this point. But I always thought of it as a curiosity. A lot of fun technology was there, but I didn't know what useful thing you could do with it because of mining costs, scalability, even the tech layers are written on top of that were built like duct tape. It didn't feel like you could really create a business, create something that was world scale. However, once I heard about Algorand, that solution, I'm like, wow, this could actually solve it. And Marc, earlier you said something about, is there really objective reality? Well, if we all share one common blockchain view of some data set, maybe there is, at least between us, an objective reality, and that lets you solve financial problems, that lets you solve data problems, and kills off the whole story of fake news, and that really gets me excited.
So, I guess what appeals to me the most about this particular industry is that suddenly we can imagine that there are different ways of doing things, and quite fundamentally different ways of doing things, whether you look at it from an economics perspective, from a monetary perspective, and we've got the crypto opportunities there of truly decentralized units of value. We can have a discussion about whether the fungibility of tokens, whether they really are money, whether they should be considered money or not. But the net is, with cryptocurrencies, you can now send a unit of value across the internet from one place to the other without needing to ask for permission from anybody, and without anybody being able to stop you from sending that unit of value that you own to someone else for whatever purpose. And that's a fundamentally different way of doing things, because for those of us, most of us that are here today, I suspect that even though we were paying to come here with either our money or the money from maybe one of our companies, if we were lucky enough to do that, we needed to ask permission, not of ourselves, whose money it was, or the company whose money it was, but we needed to ask permission from maybe 5 up to 8 different people in the chain to be able to spend our money, to come and take part in an event. So the first aspect of what really appealed to me about blockchain was doing things differently from a financial perspective and empowering individuals to control their own assets and make their own decisions without needing intermediaries in the middle who could control your wealth. But the second, and perhaps for me the most important thing that really, really makes me smile, is this ability that this industry has to reestablish trust. So at the moment, there is a very low level of trust between just about anything you can imagine. Devices, so, sorry, that wasn't me. Internet devices don't trust each other, even though they need to. They're sharing data, and even devices can't trust each other because they need to understand the purity of the data. If you look at blockchain, that can help. Governments and citizens, well, I'm not sure what your views are politically, but there are a few leaders around the world at the moment that their citizens are struggling to trust. Now, when you talk about something such as your most valuable asset that you might own in that country, say land or a house, In some parts of the world where there is instability and a lack of trust in leaders, that puts your most valuable asset at risk, because theoretically it could be taken away from you. Blockchain gives you the ability to establish almost mechanical trust without needing to trust individuals. And this reimagining of how we can go about living lives, engaging in transactions, and building things that we can't even imagine now. And my 16-year-old son is a great example of this. I talk about blockchain incessantly at home, and he looks at me like I am what I am, which frankly is a very old man. Because what he's thinking about to do with this technology is beyond what most of us, even in this room, are imagining we could do with it. And for me, that's the most exciting thing.
It's like we're just coming up to a World Bitcoin Day. That's what, 22nd of May? Yeah. When, so who knows what World Bitcoin Day is? It's the day of the first commercial transaction of somebody using Bitcoin to buy something. What did they buy? Pizzas, exactly. They bought 2 pizzas, and how much money did they pay for that pizza?
Too much.
By way of background, 2 pizzas normally would cost in fiat money $45. They were expensive pizzas, including delivery, and the guy paid a mere 10,000 Bitcoin for them. What is fascinating with blockchain, and I've got a challenging question for you guys. What's fascinating with blockchain is that it was invented as money. Not really money. It was invented as a store of value. It had many of the properties of money. Now, I haven't seen on the agenda anywhere this year this term called ICO. Does anybody remember what that was? What the hell happened with this ICO thing? And is it going to hurt us now going forward? Who wants to do that one? You want to have a go, Mark? And then
Yeah.
don't
We did token sale. So like Cindicator did token sale in the 17th year. And I can say that for us, it was a huge boost in the way how we enhanced the community that we had. So like I can say that in our specific case, humans are, and their mind, their collective mind is part of technology that we are creating. And for us, the statistical models and AI, machine learning, are just a small part of the technology. And the token sale that we did helped a lot to grow the community and engage more clever people and distribute the trust. Like the trust that we're talking about is also, I think, is one of the most important values in current life and in the future. And the way how the token sale was produced, it was done very differently, and many different companies did it very differently. And we can say that in some case, it already had hurt the ecosystem, like how this winter began a year ago. And can we say that this is hurt, that the prices and the quotes went down? Or we can say that it is actually clearing the space and taking away people with only speculative type of motivation to grow the technology, the business, the communities. And it has kept only true believers, only those who have strong hands, who do what they intend to do. And now we can see that in current ecosystem, there is much less hype than it was 2 years ago and a year and a half ago. And the ecosystem became much more matured. Still, there are lots of craziness. Still, there are people who are looking only for the price of the Bitcoin, even don't understanding the ideology that is laying behind and the ideas that lay behind this technology, and don't understand why these ideas are really important. So I believe that we will see another corrections in future, just to clear the space of collective mind. So we can say that we see both aspects. the aspect that it has hurt the ecosystem, because many crazy investors have lost their savings and money, and many people do say that this is scam technology, and those who do not understand and those people who have no access to the knowledge, they been brought to illusion of this reality, and they have less chance to understand it in the nearest years, while since we will not see the adoption. And on the other hand, we see positive aspects, like everything.
And Marc, you had some.
So I just go back to a point that you made earlier around Bitcoin was invented to be money. I'm not sure it was, and I'd like to come back to that discussion a little bit later on. I think the problem that Bitcoin solved was the challenge of double spend, i.e. how do you be able to transfer an asset across the internet knowing that it's actually moved from one place to the other. And I think that was the interesting challenge for me that Bitcoin solved rather than money. But back to the point about ICOs. Generally speaking, ICO received some very bad press, and I think probably rightly so in the majority of cases, because there were some slightly questionable actions that took place. But I try and look at things a little more positively, because what I saw coming out of the whole ICO feeding frenzy was an ability for young entrepreneurs, for the first time ever, to access capital very quickly and fund their ideas. And for any of you that have started businesses, which I have, the alternative route to that used to be getting your PowerPoint deck, building your minimum viable product, running up and down Sand Hill Row in California, begging on the doors of all of the VC houses to give you a chance to pitch for 5 minutes, to which their response as standard was, come back when you have another insert number, 100,000 users, come back when you have a revenue stream, and come back when you have some gray hair, an advisor sitting on your board, which you did. And then they would say, come back when you've created penetration into another country, come back when you have reached your next milestone, to try and de-risk things. So the point I'm making is it was very frustrating as an entrepreneur to try and access capital. And then the ICO capability built on what blockchain would allow fundraising to do meant that suddenly young entrepreneurs could access capital very quickly, could secure that capital and expertise to help support their business idea. And granted, not all of the ideas were good ideas. Not all of the people were honest actors, as in choose your industry. Banking, retailing, there are dishonest actors everywhere. But by and large, my view of the ICO opportunity was that, again, it showed us what can happen when people take this nascent technology, blockchain, and start building ways of using it on top of what is publicly available. And this is really important, publicly available as code that anyone can access. So I viewed the ICO craze rather positively, though anyone, and this is not investment advice, it shouldn't be considered marketing nor an endorsement of ICOs. That's a nod to my legal team. You should do your own research, but for investors and for entrepreneurs, I think it's a wonderful application of the technology to address a problem, which was illiquidity in the market.
I just like to add a couple of things there. I think mostly Yuri and Marc covered it, but to go off a little bit of what Marc said earlier, to go off a little bit more what Marc said is, I think crowdfunding was a fantastic opportunity that ICOs enabled. However, where me personally, are paying for it on the other side, the 80% scam ICOs that occurred, ERC 20 statistics, result in a lot of mistrust now. When I go talk to someone about, hey, I'm building a layer 1 blockchain, hey, I'm working in the crypto space, and instead of being open-minded, they're like, well, I heard a lot of negative press, and so we have to fight that now on that one side. And on the other side, governments still have a lot of power, and they do a lot of good, but that power, when there were pre-ICOs, they were open-minded, they're waiting before they made a decision. The ICO craze caused them to be protective of a lot of individual investors, and they made some decisions that had to slow things down. So once again, ICOs are amazing opportunity for crowdfunding, but we're on the paying for it a little bit because of some scam projects that occurred.
And what I think is now quite interesting, has any of you built a product or built a company before? It's interesting. Does it take 10 minutes to do it? No. So what I think is actually sort of quite interesting, if you like, this ICO bubble at least gave a lot of great companies and a lot of great entrepreneurs cash to build incredible product. But so now, I guess the next question is practicality and adoption. Because after all, now we've got to actually sort of deliver what we have. So I'd be really interested in your thoughts about how you're seeing adoption, some tricks on getting adoption. And I'm fascinated for you about your experience so far on, let's say, getting these things adopted.
To me, that's more important to talk about what's the barrier of the future visions of the technology, I guess. We just to mention about the blockchain itself. I guess the blockchain is just a tools. So why I'm very excited about the blockchain is that we can create a new barriers between the personal relation or social capital, which is a kind of we have been embraced, but still it's not been visualized before. But once we can make a token and some specific tools enable to make a new type of incentive structures, even you are working on specific project voluntary, you can create something barriers. The return is coming from the project. This is a pretty big incentive for the individual be a part of the specific actions. In particular, social sector is been very hard to make money in short term, but you can gain the very great benefits through your contribution to the specific social actions, which is a very big barriers. I've been working in education space so far. I was a part of the voluntary member there, but it's very hard to visualize my contributions. But once the project can easy to publish the tokens to somebody who is a part of the members, everybody can easy to come on board and start something goodness. This type of thing could be happens in the blockchain technology. So in my sense, the blockchain has a very big empowerment. Even it's still not making a barriers, but the futuristic, we can make a barriers through the blockchain technology in the future.
So I see that currently, it doesn't play Bitcoin doesn't play the role of medium of exchange yet. So it's the question of time. But at this moment, we already see that the blockchain technology is playing a huge role in a way how it's raising the awareness of the questions, of very important questions. And all the people that are somehow get involved into this space, they have to figure out and understand how things work from very different perspective, from how economics works, how money works, how technology works, how psychology works, how reality works. And the people start asking very important questions of what is value. And these questions and this incentivization of asking questions and understanding the intersections of so complex things, this is growing the adoption and growing the global awareness. And I can say that it plays the role of institution that educate people from all the spheres. I can say that there are already solutions that already utilize the value of blockchain technology. For example, in our company, this is the incentivization to learn about financial markets for thousands of people, and is blurring the border for people from third countries and from all the layers to learn about the way how the market works and get rewarded for that without any risks. And this is the technology that allows to organize huge decentralized work of huge community. In our case, this is humans. There are other cases like distributed computing and lots of types of works that could be done only in the unity of different parts that are that are placed in very different parts of the earth, in very different jurisdictions, in very different cultures and mentalities. And this is where the blockchain is helping to unite and create very efficient way of organizing the work. And we see it right now, and it's happening. And I'm very positive about these utilities.
Adoption's hard. Adoption's a hard problem. My prior company that I worked for before Algorand was Mozilla, and we spent a lot of energy and time building open source communities, and getting someone to come was a lot harder than simply building my baseball stadium. But blockchain has all this promise. These ideas of trust, these ideas of community all exist, but the current technology, the technology that's out there on proof of work systems and even some of the derivative systems that came afterwards do not scale, cannot solve the problems. They don't have immediate finality, so how can you trust it to do that swap of an asset? So solve those layer one problems first, and then I think we can go after some really obvious use cases that we will help facilitate. So for example, I think financial systems are one that my team, maybe not me so much, but my team understands. And so to that end, Algorand's one of the first, I think the first blockchain to be a member of ISDA, the International Swaps and Derivatives Association, bringing financial tools that banks and large financial companies use to the masses. We want everyone to be able to participate and use that. We understand that, but we don't understand everything. So by giving a developer experience that is easy for everyone to build on, then I want to see what the 16-year-old that might be your son or someone else's son or daughter out there will come up with next, because they're going to have better ideas than any of us up here.
So adoption is challenging right now, and we work on some very large projects. So in the Republic of Georgia, we have developed a land registry system, which for the past 2 years has been live across the whole country. There are over 300,000 pieces of property, 2 million transactions. The system is live, and it's reduced the time to register property from 3 days down to 10 minutes, and reduced the operational costs of the government by some 90%. But even having said that, with what I still believe is the largest government-based blockchain application in full production, even having said that, the challenges around adoption are significant. And to use this as an example, some of them are pure ecosystem-based, which we as technologists can't solve. The land registry challenge is the following. So if I'm a citizen of the Republic of Georgia, and I can prove that I own my land, and I have my certificate that shows it's registered on the blockchain, and I now decide I want to sell it, suddenly there are legal considerations around the transfer of that asset to an individual outside of the country. There are financial considerations if there happens to be a finance vehicle associated with my purchase of that particular property. And these quite large considerations require some fundamental legal, some fundamental governmental intervention, and the creation of structures that allow the treatment of these assets to work in a frictionless way. Otherwise, with the example of land registry, all we're doing is creating another bucket of assets that have friction when you want to move them between different geographies, or you want to move them to the ownership of people who don't have access to a blockchain-based system. So I think what needs to happen at the moment, and Germany is a really good example of that. I just saw today some news coming out about Germany pushing the accelerator on trying to create legislation which is going to massively speed up the adoption of blockchain and crypto. France have been advocating that for a long time, as well as some of the smaller island states like Malta and Bermuda and Gibraltar. I think there needs to be greater government cooperation to create an ecosystem that shows how assets and blockchains on assets can be treated. And once we start to see that type of ecosystem being built, and some of the technology concerns addressed as well, such as which blockchain portability of data, interoperability. But once some of those big questions start to become addressed, then we will see far quicker adoption. And I just think it's very natural.
And this has been absolutely fascinating. I mean, it's interesting. We've done a very quick 10-year journey of blockchain so far, and I think we have a very interesting future to come. I'd like a big round of applause for all of our guests here and all of our speakers. Thank you ever so much, and please get hold of them afterwards. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you.